How many original metal lineups are left? Stick around and I'll give you some answers. What's up, dudes? I'm back with another video. Yes, today we are talking about lineups. You know, members that have left, members that are still in the band. Are there any original members left in the band? And how many bands still have their original lineup? So quite a few categories to go through. I thought this one was really interesting. Some of the results surprised me when I was researching it for the video. Some of them, of course, I already knew, and I'm sure some of you guys will as well. I just want to put a little asterisk in this. We'll only be doing bands that have been going for 15 years plus. I think it would be unfair, obviously, to do that for a band that hadn't been going that long. So all the bands in this video will be going for at least 15 years, and I have counted bands' first albums as the starting point for a couple of the sections, but I'll tell you when that's the case. But yeah, let's get on with the first one. Okay, the first category or subject we'll be talking about are bands that have changed one member. So, you know, changed out a certain drummer or a guitarist, but the core group of the band has stayed the same. Okay, starting off with one of my favourite bands. I'm sure if you've watched the channel, you'd have seen me wearing loads and loads of their t-shirts. It's Paradise Lost.
Hi, I'm Greg. And I'm Steve.
Aaron.
Lee. I'm Nick. This is Paradise Lost. This is a studio report on Metallica.
These guys have been a band now for 37 years, and within that time they have had 6 drummer changes. Lee Morris being in the band the longest, having the longest tenure as a drummer. He was in the band from 1994 to 2004. They've switched out quite a few drummers since then, but the core quartet of the band, Nick, Gregor, Aaron and Stephen, have remained a consistent since the band began in 1988. Next up, another amazing band. It's Bring Me the Horizon. Now Jordan Fish obviously has left the band. He wasn't an original member, but this one does track now he's left. But in their time, they have had a couple of rhythm guitarists. The band had the original guitar player Curtis Ward from 2004 to 2009 and Jonah Van Event from 2009 to 2013. Regardless of those changes, the core of the group has remained the same since their early deathcore days. And next up, another great band that's had only one lineup change since their first album came out in 2000, 25 years ago, believe it or not. It's Papa Roach. Their original drummer Dave Buckner left the band shortly after the Paramore sessions in 2006, with Tony Palomero coming in, and he's been the drummer ever since. I think now he's actually been longer in the band than the original drummer was, which is the case for a lot of musicians these days in these sort of classic lineups. But crazy to think that, you know, within a 25-year span, they've only had one member change. That is insane. Right, moving over to our next category, it's bands that only have one original member left. Now, there are quite a few, but I've only gone with a few examples. Now, obviously, one of the main ones we might as well talk about and get the elephant out of the room. It's Megadeth. Of course, we know that Dave Mustaine is the only original member in Megadeth. You know, people call the band now Mega Dave. I think they've had about 20 different lineup changes within their, you know, whole existence, which, you know, it's a lot of people, but there have been so many different phases and music types. And even though they've been going that long, I still think they've got quite a decent discography as a whole. You know, a few little bits in there maybe that aren't quite as good, but yeah, Dave Mustaine has kept the band going for this long, and of course next year they're doing their final tour and final album. So yeah, it's been a long time, but Dave's still kicking it. Another obvious one, but obviously it has to be said, one of my favourite bands, again a lot like Paradise Lost, I wear endless Cradle of Filth t-shirts, and of course Danny Filth has been in the band ever since its conception. You know, he is the driving force behind the band. I know there's been a little bit of controversy recently about him and other members of the band, but he has kept them going for this long. And a lot like Megadeth, their discography of albums is pretty solid all the way. There's probably, for me, only about 1 or 2 kind of duds that aren't really that great. But again, he's been the driving force behind the band, and they have been going an awfully long time. So yes, Danny Filth is the only original member in Cradle of Filth. Another one I felt I had to mention, one of my favourite bands. This list seems to be a lot of my favourite bands, but obviously I've picked examples of bands that I know. Some of them I have researched, but you know, a lot of these bands are bands that I love. They're just really good examples for this video. But a band that I feel is horrifically underrated all over the world, apart from America where they seem to be massive. It's Bush. Gavin Rossdale, of course, the driving force behind Bush, the original singer. He is still in the band to this day. They are still making quality albums to this day. I mean, they started out as a grunge band and now they sound more like 3 Days Grace. They've become quite Americanized, even though they started off as a British band, but still very good. And it is crazy that, you know, he's been in the band this long and they've just continued consistently to put out pretty damn decent albums. So yeah, Bush, of course, Gavin Rossdale is currently the only original member. Now, another pretty obvious one to most people, of course, they headlined Bloodstock this year. It's Machine Head. You know, Rob Flynn has kept the band going all this time. It is crazy to think that, you know, again, a lot like the other bands, a really good discography, a few little down bits in there, we should say. Not Supercharger, so don't even think about it. But yeah, really, really good that he's actually kept the band going this whole time. Obviously, there have been different changes. Some of them have been considered like the classic lineup. I think the 2000s lineup for me is the best one, but they are still putting out quality albums now. But Rob Flynn is the only original member left. And finally, finishing up with another huge band, it's Slipknot. Believe it or not, Sean Clown, of course, is the only original member left in Slipknot. What Slipknot don't want to tell you is they had an album before they're self-titled. A lot of people actually don't know this, called Make, Feed, Kill, Repeat. It was the band's first album. It's not great, so Slipknot don't like to talk about it, acknowledge it. It's not on Spotify or any of that stuff. Of course, a couple of the members that were in the band originally have either died or left the band now. So Sean Clown is the only original member left in Slipknot. If you're not aware, as well as YouTube, I actually have a podcast called the Dear Download Podcast, which I present with my friend Adam Cox. It's very similar to this, except it's much more long form. We talk about festivals, metal, album rankings, all sort of stuff across the year. So if that tickles your fancy, come over and listen to us on Spotify or wherever you do, Apple, all the rest of the places. We are everywhere. But the link to Spotify is in the description. Come over and hang out with us. And now this subject is quite interesting. Bands that are still going with no original members. Believe it or not, it is actually quite common. The first one that I'd done researching for this video, I didn't actually realise this was the case because I do like some of their songs, but I'm not the biggest fan. It's Opeth. The band started in 1990, but their last original member actually only left the band 2 years in. David Isberg left the band, and ever since then they have had no original members. I mean, it's difficult for this because obviously it was such a short stay for the original members, and obviously the band have been going so long now, but it is an interesting one and something that I brought up in the research for this video. So yeah, apparently Opeth have no original members. Now this is one I did know, and I just recently done a video ranking the albums of this band. It's In Flames, so go and check that video out if you haven't already. It's great, I really do like In Flames. But yes, Jasper Stromblund left the band in 2010. They had kept quite a lot of the original lineup, you know, going from the beginning until 2010, but they were slowly phased out over time. And yes, since 2010 there have been no original members in Flames, which is pretty crazy. Now, one that's probably pretty obvious to a lot of people, it's Sepultura. These guys have been going since 1984, believe it or not, which is just crazy in itself. But the last original member, Igor Cavalera, left the band in 2006. So they've been continuously touring, making really good albums since. But since 2006, there has been no original members in Sepultura. One a lot of you might not know is that Lorna Shore have had no original members in the band since 2017. Gary Herrera left the band then, and he was the last original member. This is an odd one because the band have actually got bigger than they've ever been with no original members in the band, which is probably quite rare to happen. Normally, you know, people would go not downhill necessarily, but of course maybe not have that upward trajectory that they had with all the original members. But yeah, Lorna Shore, bigger than ever, and they have no original members in the band. And finally, we're going to talk about bands that still have original lineups to this day, or they've been switched out to still have original lineups. This one I'm only going to count from their first album, you know, no formations or, you know, EPs or anything like that. From their first album, they have had the same band, or currently have the same lineup as they did originally. Now, a big one to start with, it's Rammstein. These guys have been going for 29 years now, believe it or not, which is pretty insane. But they have had 0 lineup changes within that time. Obviously, you know, you guys have seen them now play stadiums, they play giant stuff, you know, all the touring, the constant records, and they are still together to this day. So fair play. Rammstein still have all their original members. Now, this is one I didn't know before doing research for this video. I'm not the biggest fan, but I did enjoy their set on the Sunday of Bloodstock. It's Gojira. So Gojira have been going for around 24 years and have had no lineup changes, which is pretty impressive. Obviously, musically, they're quite amazing. I did enjoy their set at Bloodstock. I'm just not the biggest fan of Gojira, but obviously a massive feat to have the same band 24 years later. Another band from the early 2000s that still have the same lineup is Mudvayne. These guys have been going for about 25 years now. I know they took a hiatus in the middle, but they are still together now, still playing shows, still the same band, still releasing music now, which is amazing as well. Like, I really would like to see and hear a new Mudvayne album, but they are still the same band 25 years later. A band very much having their second wind at the moment. Possible download headliners? Question mark. It's Limp Bizkit. Now, Limp Bizkit have been going for 28 years. Now, I know in that time they have switched out the guitar player and the drummer for a little while, but now they are back together with the original lineup, which, I mean, they're a fantastic band. They're a great live band. They're great on record. Their new song was really good. If they headline download, I would be thrilled. But still pretty impressive that we have that original lineup rocking live to this day. Amazing. Yeah, so there you go, guys. Just a bit of a quick fire to do with bands and members and stuff. I just thought that was a really cool little subject to cover. I'm sure, obviously, there are loads more. So tell me in the comments which ones, you know, who's been together the longest, you know, who's got a member missing, who's only got one guy in the band that was originally there, who's got no original members. Tell me in the comments, because it's always interesting to learn these things as little, like, nuggets of information. It's always great fun. Thank you very much to my patrons that are on the screen or have been on the screen. I don't know where I'm going to put them in the video right now, but thank you very much for all your support. I love you guys very much. If you do want to come over and support me on Patreon, the link is in the description. Over there you will get videos, content and everything that is not available on YouTube, and stuff I do specifically for Patreon. For everyone else, again, I appreciate all the likes, all the comments. It really does mean a lot to me. Keep subscribing. I really want to get to that 7k before the end of the year, and then the 10k is within my grasp, so that would be really nice as well. So as always, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you dudes in the next video. You should go and subscribe to my channel, just because. Come on, subscribe.